Okay, the next question we're going to ask it, and I'll tell you what the question is. Actually, Ms. Foster mentioned the strategic plan. So the question is, do you disagree with anything in the strategic plan? And the order in which you'll answer this question will be first Ms. Dolma, then Ms. Foster, then Mr. Cabrero, Ms. Dauber, and then Ms. Godfrey. Okay? So the question is, do you disagree with anything in the strategic plan? And we'll start with Ms. Dolma.
Well, first of all, I think that it's the board worked very hard to have a very good strategic plan, but there are several things that I disagree with in the strategic plan, and I think the main one is we state very clearly in the strategic plan that 85% of our kids will be proficient in 3 years. You cannot have a strategic plan that doesn't have as a objective to serve 100% of our kids. And I think we should be measured on that. The second thing is that we just went through a local control accountability plan. And I believe that deserved an update of the strategic plan. I think that there's a little lost opportunity before aligning those two documents. And I wish that we would have gone through that effort. If I'm elected into the board, that is one of the first things that I would be looking at.
Thank you. Same question to Ms. Foster.
I was delighted to see the strategic plan, and I was also glad to see that the superintendent pruned it down a bit so we could really have some focused goals as a district. Because when we can focus on what's most important, we're most likely to achieve some success. I very much agree with many of the goals that are in the strategic plan. Where I think that it may need a little bit of addition would be around metrics that are in the plan and timelines for execution. There's a tremendous amount, and it's a very ambitious plan, but it is not entirely clear exactly how that's going to be executed. Like Gina, I feel that it's important that we stress that every student can reach his or her full potential and that we have the highest expectation of all of our students. I also think, though, that it's important to be realistic and to make sure that we set achievable stretch goals for ourselves as a district. I would love it if our stretch goal was 100%. And it's important to think about how we can get there, and extremely important to think about how we can make sure that we reach every single one of our students.
Thank you. Mr. Cabrero.
Yeah, the strategic plan is a great document. It's very informative. Honestly, I need to spend more time reviewing it and getting involved in it. Overall, the plan is about 20 pages, I believe, but then there's an additional 100 pages of analytics and metrics that is attached to it. You can see it's quite a thick document, double-sided. So I'm not going to go into a lot of details, but I certainly agree that it's essential to understand the metrics and how we're going to evaluate the strategic plan. And then, my big question is, great that we have a strategic plan. Do we want to reevaluate it and update it as a community when it's just been created? Possibly not, but really go and dive into detail on the implementation of the plan and understand exactly how it's going to be implemented and the different components of it, and potentially even understand more prioritization within the plan, because it's very dense, and trying to pull certain things out of it that the community sees as a top priority.
Thank you. Mr. Dauber?
My quarrel with the strategic plan is less its contents, although I think it does lack metrics, than the role that it has really played in guiding the work of the school district. What I think is more important than a sort of lofty set of goals is a set of annual goals that say exactly what we're going to do, that matter to students, and that we actually get done. I think Barbara Klausner, who I see sitting in the room, had this complaint about their strategic plan, that it's possible to overinvest in planning and underinvest in execution. And I think that's one of the things that we've done in this area. So, there's things like a 13th elementary school, foreign languages in elementary school, completing the work of our homework committee, making progress against the concrete issues that I talked about with our Project Safety Net plan. If we have a strategic plan that doesn't get us to those goals, then the plan isn't really doing the work that it needs to do for us. So I would focus less on creation of large planning documents and more on getting right the tactical work of setting achievable goals on an annual basis and getting them done. I think that will produce the kinds of results that parents and students in the community can really benefit from.
Thank you. Ms. Godfrey?
Thank you. So my thinking is similar to my friends on the dais here. For me, the strategic plan has nothing in it that I necessarily disagree with, but it's pretty middle of the fairway. It doesn't have a lot of stretch in it, and it was the product of having lots of community input and lots of folks working on it together. So it gets a little bit watered down in that process sometimes. So I feel like we have the opportunity with the new superintendent to really take some stretch goals around innovation and benchmarking with other districts and the kinds of things that we've talked about in the past but never quite made it into our strategic plan or into our annual goals. So for me, that's really, I see this opportunity to relook at that, and we saw Dr. McGee hit the ground running with a new set of annual goals within just 1 or 2 board meetings of having been here. So not only sort of stretching beyond what's in there now, but even back to sort of the tactical, as mentioned before, some of the metrics we have are metrics that measure effort versus metrics that measure output. So a rethink on that would be, I think, important for us, and certainly the work environments that I've come from really have solidified in my mind that overall goals, that people can see how they align with those goals, and those goals for a long-term, big vision that really tie to what you're doing every day really helps keep employees engaged, and I think keeps students engaged.
Thank you. The strategic plan, of course, is something that I was doing previously.